it's been an interesting year to get here, and hadn't been an easy journey at all. But they say anything good doesn't come easy, so maybe we're about to see some results of a lot of guys working hard and a lot of guys making tremendous investment for us to be here. And so got a lot of good memories of the journey to get to this point, which hope this journey's got at least 4 or 5 more weeks to it. But grateful to still be coaching this time of year, and grateful that out of all the Division II schools in the country, 162, I guess, there's 24 still playing, and we're one of the 24. So we made the first cut, so we're excited.
What do you like about getting to face a Newberry team for the second time in 3 weeks?
Well, preparation wasn't near as hard as far as, gaining 10 weeks of stats and trying to figure out tendencies, because we just did that 2 weeks ago. And so a lot easier to update it. And so playing a league opponent in the first round of the playoffs has got a lot of disadvantages, but it's got some advantages, especially in the preparation part.
You talk about disadvantages. What is the biggest disadvantage?
Well, they know probably a whole lot about us, and when they're preparing to defend us, they just did it 2 weeks ago, and a lot of times it takes a team a while to adjust to defend us, and they probably won't have an adjustment problem doing it at all. So don't know how both teams will respond as compared to what happened the first time, but it don't really matter. The only thing that matters is going out and playing this game. This is the only game that matters. And so, everybody talks about last game. Well, you can forget about that one, because it don't matter. And whether they have a psychological edge or we have a psychological edge, or whether we're one up on them that much or they're one up on us that much, it really don't matter. It's a matter of 11 guys playing against 11 guys for ever how many plays that we can get in a 60-minute clock running. That's what matters.
Cory Washington was their top target throughout the season, but you slowed him down pretty well, kept him out of the end zone. Just what makes him a solid wide receiver, and how do you replicate those results?
Well, going to be a tremendous challenge to do that, but he runs very well. He's got a lot of tools. He's big, he can jump, and they're going to give him plenty of opportunities, and just like they did the last time. And hopefully we can find some way to be able to get it done against him.
How do you cut down on the turnovers last time? 3 turnovers against him. How do you work on cutting those down?
Well, I don't think there's any question that turnovers is a major part of the game, and they had some early and got them in trouble, and we had some late and almost got us in trouble. And so we probably made a little bit more happen with their turnovers than they did with ours, but it's still it was very frustrating to have a game that we could have pretty much get it decided maybe when we couldn't cap it off because we kept turning the ball over.
What about your senior leadership that you've seen this week? How have they communicated things to some of the underclassmen about the meaning of a second straight playoff run?
Well, of course, it's still pretty early in the week, and they'll have more opportunities as the week goes along. But I think I have confidence in the player committee and the investment that they've made in this deal and the dreams that they've dreamed for us and the goals that they've set for us. And I think we'll see the next couple of days of them probably finding ways to state that to everybody.
Brandon Baker, Tyron Douglas, Andy Hibbett, DeAndre Thomas all have rushed for more than 700 yards this season. How have you maintained that level of balance?
Well, it's 4 quality guys that are going to, in this offense, are going to have the ball in their hand. So usually if you've got 4 or 5 guys gaining some yardage, it's because there's probably 5 or 6 offensive linemen that are doing a pretty good job as a beginning point, and probably some very unselfish wide receivers that are also getting some people blocked on the edges to make a difference.
You talk about wide receivers. You played throughout the season without your top 2.
Yeah.
And if everything holds serve, it appears that this will be the first week since the Wayne State game that you'll have both Isom and no Eubanks.
No Eubanks, probably.
Still not clear.
No clear.
Well, then how impressive is it that you've got a quarterback who's thrown for 200 yards a trio of times this year? It has more than 1,400 yards on the season, considering that the wide receiving corps has been pretty decimated throughout the year.
Well, it's been pretty miraculous, really, what has happened at wide receiver. You know, we've had a freshman to come through, we've had a running back to come through, we've had we've had some people who just decided they were going to get it done, and I think Coach Rang and Coach Headley have done a tremendous job of getting those guys ready to play, and just mentally not having complete breakdowns have been pretty miraculous. Now, we've had some breakdowns, but they haven't been a whole bunch of them, and we've been very fortunate when you get thinking about it, that out of the 6 receivers that we thought were pretty deep and talented, that we've played with about 2 of them the whole year, and so we've been very fortunate to have some people come through for us at that position.
Have you taken those Ken Sparks steps that you so often talk about each of the last 2 weeks with wins over the Wolves and then on the final game of the regular season against Wingate?
Yeah, we're still, even in the middle of a play, we're that way sometimes. But but yes, I think the last 2 weeks we have, I mean, basically it's been 2 rounds of the playoffs. And so while everybody else is playing the first round of the playoffs, we're playing the 3rd round. So it's been encouraging the last 2 weeks.
How can that mentality help the team or hurt it?
The fact that it's the 3rd round of the playoffs?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's great. We took the day off yesterday, basically, and I think that was something that was very much needed. Looking at the celebration when I announced it, it must have really been needed. And so we had I think it's been an 11-week grind, I mean, it's been 11 straight weeks, and this will be the 12th straight weeks that we've played a ball game, and that's with no breaks and no open dates or anything. So they've handled it very, very well, and we'll see this week how well we continue doing that.
You say that they've handled it very well. How much does having a strong mindset on the bigger picture help with that?
Well, I think it's the key. I think realizing that we haven't arrived at where we want to go to. Our destination's still out there, and so the journey is so important for us to stay true to, and take it one day at a time, 1 mile at a time as we take the journey, and because the goal is the destination, and so you can't look too far out and ahead of you. My daddy used to say, or you'll step in a hole right in front of you. Or you can't certainly look behind you or look around too much, 'cause you'll hit a tree in front of you. And so, so the key is to glance up every once in a while and see where the ultimate destination is, but mostly take it one step at a time and get it going. Well, it's the marathoner's theme. By the inch, it's a cinch. By the yard, it's hard. And so that's pretty much life. You know, life by the inch is all we got to live anyway. So let's live it all we can and make that inch count. Because by the yard, sometimes it gets hard. And so let's take care of this inch that we got right now.
Were there any, I know you're focused on this Carson-Newman game coming up, but when you looked at the entire playoff picture in the bracket, anything surprise you, teams that didn't make it you thought should have, or vice versa?
Well, I'll be honest with you, at this point, I haven't looked at it deeply. I haven't spent a whole lot of time. I know in the South region, I guess West Alabama would be considered probably the team that was left out. I'm sure Miles sitting there knowing all they had to do is win their last ball game they were in and didn't win it, which put Tuskegee in. I'm sure that was a pretty major hurt for them. And so Delta State getting beat the last week closed the door on them. But you know, you look at the ranked teams, there was no upsets, you know, in those top 6 teams. So the Southeast region was pretty well set because there was no upset. So the work that they'd done the week before in ranking people, they went with that. And so there was no surprises in the Southeast region. I don't know how it was in the other regions. Like I say, I haven't studied it too much, but I know there's an undefeated team playing in the first round of the playoffs this week. And when you start thinking about an undefeated team that probably in the American Football Coaches Association rankings were probably in the top 10, but yet they're playing in the first without a bye, in the first round without a bye, I'm sure that's a pretty major shock to them. And so in the playoffs, there's 24 teams. Probably 6 or 8 of them are just happy to be there, and they'll get beat the first round. Several of the games have got repeat that they've played each other. Before this thing's over with, there'll probably be about 8 or 10 of the teams that have played each other already. And so that's always an interesting concept. Whether that's a plus or a minus or ever how it works. And we're one of those, us in Newberry. And so there's so much mental part of getting in the playoffs that a lot of teams don't handle the playoffs as well as they need to. And so we're fortunate in the fact that our kids have played in the playoffs last year. And so these guys, it's not a new experience to them. And some coaches on this staff have been in the playoffs 20 times. And so, you know, preparation for the playoffs is nothing new. But it's, you know, going into the playoffs the second season of the year is a fresh experience. And you got to do some things to make it fresh, to make it a new season. And you want to learn from the old, but you want to realize that it's a 5-game new season. And so let's make it count. And so that's the challenge, you know. And that's the creative part, and good thing about having some young coaches, they get into that, and it's pretty good to watch all that happen.
Anything else?
No, we got in theory, we got it figured out. Now we got to go play and get it done. You know, talk don't get the walk done. Doggone it, we got to go get it done.